Good afternoon, everyone. So, a very good afternoon, dear students, respected teachers, principal, and highly esteemed guests. I welcome you all to this industrial expert talk on quality control. This event has been organized by Biotechnology Institute of Management and Sciences to enable you all to learn the concept of quality control. So, dignified guest for today is Dr. Ram Gopal Rao S. He is the academic manager of Biotech Academy. He is also a biotechnology trainer, teacher, and a career mentor. So, before I introduce to you all our guests, I would like to thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and making this possible. Thank you, sir. So, now let me introduce to you our esteemed guest of honor, Dr. Ram Gopal Rao, sir. He is the academic manager at the Biocon Academy. He has completed his MSc in botany. He has completed his MSc in botany and his PhD in plant biotechnology from Gulbarga University. He has also completed his postgraduate diploma in patent laws and intellectual property. He has over 2 decades of experience in the field of biotechnology, which includes over 5 years of training in biopharmaceuticals at the Biocon Academy, 12 years of teaching experience. He has taught BTech biotechnology students and MTech biotechnology students, and he is presently managing 2 advanced skill development training programs at Biocon. They are named the Biocon KGI Certificate Program in Biosciences and with Biocon Certificate Program in Applied Industrial Microbiology. He has conducted various external and in-house research projects in biotechnology, guided many PhDs, and published several research papers in peer-reviewed journals. So, with all this introduction, you can see his expertise will lie in the techniques of biotechnology, molecular biotechnology, genetics, microbiology, just to name a few. So, with a man of so many techniques at his fingertips, knowledge beyond boundaries, let us listen to his talk on quality control. So, we are eager to hear from you, and over to you.
Good afternoon, dear friends. Good afternoon. I know it's very difficult, right? For me also after lunch, and for you also to bring out this energy, right? We'll try to see that this won't become a lecture, or what you call as a boring lecture, right? We'll make it more like information sharing and discussion, because I am a teacher, but I know the difficulty of attending a class post lunch, especially if you want to focus on a topic which is not in the syllabus, which is not having marks and exams, and you are just asked to listen or discuss and interact. I will make it more in terms of giving you an eye view, or the tip of the iceberg I will expose in terms of what happens in biotech, pharma, and biopharma industry. I will be touching upon 2 major departments, as you can see in this slide. One is quality and the other is manufacturing. This one. and most of the discussion I will try to focus on quality, but also will touch upon manufacturing. Before I do that, it's always good to know why we have to do this. What is the objective? Like, what is the use of you all understanding how industry functions and what are these departments? Is there any relevance for your higher education, job, or why only these two? Why not anything else? Right? So it's good to have first a clear-cut objectives. So what we are trying to understand, therefore, in this discussion, I'm summarizing in this learning outcomes or objectives, I would say, right? I want each one of you to participate, ask questions, any point of time, either in between the discussion or at the end. Feel free, because you have an opportunity where you can discuss and understand more. We have spent some time to collect some information. We have spent time to train the students and interact with industry. And what we are therefore trying to do here is sharing of that knowledge, right? And sharing of this knowledge will enhance my knowledge as well as exposure. So we are here to basically familiarize with biotech, life science and pharma industry, specifically from Indian context, but most of the things will also be same at the global. That is, some of you who are planning for your PhD, postdoc, or any such higher education, you can see that wherever you go, this information as well as activities will be applicable. And major outcome I expect is that you all acquire some knowledge or subject base in terms of understanding how a biotech industry ecosystem works, or life science industrial setup, how it is organized. Specifically, we'll focus on pharmaceuticals, biologics, biosimilars, vaccines related to these, but it will also be applicable to the normal chemical based drugs as well, which we typically call as pharma. The third most important outcome we are expecting is that you have to see that you get the capability to explain what you have understood in terms of what happens in a quality department, what happens in manufacturing department. When I say what happens, you can complete the sentence in one line. Quality department takes care of the quality, manufacturing department will do the production. That's all. This is the only two lines. We are also going to revisit and understand why it is so big deal, or why you have so many industries not able to sustain or become successful in biotechnology sector. Why so many regulations are there? What are the restrictions? What are the rules? That's what we are trying to understand. Before I get into the functions of these two, I want each one of you to focus on what are the various sectors. I know this slides may be having font size less than what most of you in the back are able to see. Don't worry about grabbing everything and digesting all what is displayed, but please focus on the interaction in terms of what I want to share, right? So it's not just the slide part, it's about the discussion that we do. If you see in this slide, this picture is a summary in terms of telling you biotechnology can be understood by different ways and means. One best way is to divide them into sectors based on the type of activity, products, processes, or the type of business they are in. So you have biohealth, or in general, contribution of biotechnology for healthcare. What do you mean by healthcare? I'm talking about vaccines, diagnostics, medical devices, handheld or the large machineries that are there in the hospitals and other research centers. I'm talking about biopharmaceuticals. I'm talking about therapeutic proteins. I'm talking about the latest all of us have gone through, right? The RT-PCR, or TrueNOT, or immunodiagnostics, any of these things. Basically, they're using biology and biotechnology to bring something in terms of prevention, detection, or cure. How do you prevent? By vaccination. How do you detect? By diagnostics. And how do you cure? What do you need to cure? Medicines. In general, We call them as drugs, pharmaceuticals. But we are more concerned today with biotechnology based products. So we can confidently use the word biologics, biopharmaceuticals, things like that. So we are trying to understand, therefore, how these specific industries work. We are not going to organic chemistry, synthesis, how paracetamol is made, or how diclofenac sodium is made, etc. Because we are here to understand more of the biotech industry. So the biggest chunk of biotechnology in India, more than 60% of weightage in terms of number of companies, number of products, number of people recruited, money that is generated and invested, and profits that are obtained. Around 60 to 65% happens in this particular sector called as bio health, which includes all these activities which I was mentioning, right? Biopharmaceuticals, devices, including nutraceuticals and other Ayush-based Indian systems of medicine and their products. The second biggest category is bioindustrial, where we have several other products, not just for medicines, which are mainly used in industry or other household requirements. One simple example can be industrial enzymes. How many of you have heard about any enzyme company which is using biotechnology and generating tons and tons of enzymes used in detergents, used in tanneries, used for environmental cleanup, used as biosensors, or many different applications in clinical, diagnostic, things like that. Can you name any company which you think as an enzyme company? Any one of you? I don't want this to be a monologue, okay? You can definitely talk and respond. Otherwise, I'll point out someone and ask you to respond. Have you heard about any enzyme company? Have you thought that Bangalore also has one such big enzyme company? The biggest in the world. Which is the biggest enzyme company in the world? In my classroom, typically we ask a question and then ask the students to also use their mobile or systems to Google. Copying is allowed. Novozymes, have you heard? Please do go back and check. Okay, you can note down few terms which we are discussing. You can elaborate later if you are interested. Right? We have a company in Bangalore, which is the biggest enzyme manufacturer of the world, based in Bangalore. In fact, when Biocon started in 1978, it was an enzyme company. Dr. Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw started Biocon as an enzyme manufacturing company. Later on, she shifted towards pharma and biotech, biopharma and other sectors. Biocon sold its enzyme business to Novozymes. So we have adjacent to Biocon one Novozyme unit as well in Electronic City, Oslo. So please remember, therefore, biocatalysis, biotransformation, and generation of several products using biological enzyme-based conversions is a big sector. That is called bioindustrial, right? So you have solvents, plastics, adhesives, and many such other products. The third biggest category is agri. When I say agri, it doesn't just include plants. It includes not just agriculture, but includes biofertilizers, biopesticides, nutritional supplements that you generate, animal as well as veterinary products, right? Functional foods, not just nutraceuticals. You may even take probiotics, right? So several animal, plant derived products are mixture of these technologies coming out from maybe nitrogen fixing bacteria or any such rhizobium kind of symbiotic relationships, mycorrhizal associationships, and so on. So this is another contribution where you have not much success in terms of commercial, but in terms of sustainability and Indian agricultural productivity and contribution for us in terms of food. We are now self-sustainable, right? So that is where agricultural plant biotechnology has contributed. We all know that there is a deadlock or what you call as a hurdle in terms of GMO in India, right? Other than BT cotton, after 25 years of success, we do not have even 1 second such example to tell as a success story. None of the government, state or central, have allowed for commercialization of transgenic plants, crops. But on the contrary, if you see what Biocon manufactures, any one of us can tell me? Yes? What is the product Biocon is known for or famous for? Insulin. How do we make insulin? What is the source? Please be loud. Sorry? Recombinant DNA from what source? Plants? Animals? We make it from yeast. Throughout the world, if you see, the first success story started with E. coli around 1980. The first recombinant insulin was made by a couple of big biotech companies using Escherichia coli system. Biocon developed our own system using a typical species of industrial fungi or yeast called as Pichia pastoris. When I say yeast, most of you think that Saccharomyces cerevisiae, right? That is not the only industrial strain. We make insulin using Pichia pastoris system as an expression system. So it's a recombinant strain. We have modified it. We have developed the process. We have scaled it up. We make in big containers. What do you call them? Big stainless steel containers. Bioreactors. Or do we call them as fermenters? What is the difference? Understand this. In many interviews, people ask this. And students think that it is same. It is not same. Okay. So we use bioreactors which are, in general layman's language to say, 30,000, 40,000 liters capacity, which will be 4 floors or 5 floors. Like if you want to take one sample, you have to come down 5 floors. If you want to see the top, you have to go to 4 or 5 floors. That big bioreactors are there. At a time, 40 to 50,000 liters media, nutrients are there inside. And yeast is growing 24/7. All along the year, almost we make kilograms and quintals and tons of insulin. Recombinant human insulin. Not just one, we make several different types of insulins. Again, I'm not going to the details now, right? So that's all basically happening in these 3 sectors. I'm not touching again much on this bioenergy because again, if you see, India is yet to catch up in terms of supplementing as well as substituting this for the fossil-based fuels or conventional energy resources. But you don't have a single university which is not working in biofuels or biodiesel and other microalgal products. Even I had a chance to do some research 15 years back, starting using these photobioreactors using microalgal culture, right? So it's all happening, but we don't have technologies which can replace immediately. Of course, people have started to use blending of many biofuels sources, right, for our Indian fuel economy. So that is an area which has not much contributed in terms of number of companies, number of jobs, but it is a fast growing sector because ultimately we definitely have to come out with alternate sources of energy, not just to make diesel or petrol supplements, but there are several other products which we can derive from that. So once you know now what is bioeconomy, how do you define bioeconomy? That is, what is the investment that is happening in biotechnology? How many people are involved? How many products are there? How many products have seen the market in terms of commercialization? And how much money they are generating? In that, how much money is going back to the investment, right? You have put in some money, and then how much is remaining after taxes and expenses as profit? That whole scenario in biotechnology is going upward. For the last 20 years, biotechnology in India is in double-digit growth rate. We call it as annual growth rate, right? Again, Not going into the detail, I want to focus back to our today's topic of discussion, to focus on biotech and pharma industry. How do you further classify this biotech pharma industry is also based on the type of products as well as services they are making. The easier way to understand is there is something called as a big players, big companies, which we call as like mainline companies. Then you have CROs, CRAMs, CDMOs, things like that, all acronyms. I will expand it, otherwise you note it down and you can go on later on expand, right? And fourth category, the fifth one, startup companies. India in the last 2 years had highest number of startup companies in biotech and pharma sector, especially post COVID. The other day, within 10 days back, I was attending one bioeconomic conclave, a conference. They were proudly representing all the numbers, values there. Bangalore alone has more than 300 startup companies. We don't even know the names. They're already having funds. They already have some of them products which are at various stages of clinical trials, testing, prototyping, commercialization, approval stages. You all have tremendous potential opportunities in these sectors as well. To give you an example, there were few companies which only expected graduates, postgraduates to know how to run a PCR. We had companies who wanted to hire students who had molecular biology, immunology knowledge. That's all. Who know how to take a patient sample and run an ELISA or maybe a simple immunodiagnostic test. And many companies have come out with wonderful medical diagnostic inventions and innovations, which were approved by ICMR, Government of India, and other agencies for the Indian market. I'm not even talking about vaccines. What most of the people, especially biotech life science students, thought was last 2 years, who made the maximum money, who actually had a lot of income. People thought it is vaccine manufacturers because every one of us took it, right? Not necessarily. If you go back and see, more than 45% of the total income that was generated in the last 2 years came from diagnostic companies, the medical and other test kit manufacturers who prepared the DNA, RNA probes, who prepared the kits to run PCR or antigen antibody interaction studies. They made a lot of money. People who made masks and other PPE kits, they made a lot of money. So that is a technology which also has a lot of link associated with biotechnology, right? So you have to understand, therefore, where investment, money, products are happening. So you can expand this later and understand many of these companies are there in Bangalore itself. And there are major clusters in India where almost all these 5 categories of companies are there. For example, in and around Ahmedabad and Baroda, there is one cluster. Mumbai and Pune, Navi Mumbai, there is a cluster. Chennai, there is a cluster. Hyderabad, there is a cluster. Delhi, NCR, there is a cluster. Himachal Pradesh, you go to Badi and Chandigarh, there is a cluster. These are the 5 to 6 different regions where you can find many companies. I can't list out all that, but before you come out of your college course, go back and check what they are making, where are they, what type of jobs, therefore they advertise, and what are the skills required for you to match so that you can try, right? So that's about first understanding in terms of the sector. But if you further split the whole bioscience, life science segment, there are several other categories which I am not going to explain in this busy slide, right? But please go back to Google later on and understand there are industries classified as pharmaceutical, biopharmaceutical, contract research, manufacturing organization, clinical research organization, and so on. And further, they are also classified or subdivided into regulated, semi-regulated kind of a segments. When I say regulation, it is about what are the stringent measures you need, what are the biosafety levels, aseptic environment, sterility requirements, who all have to apply or approve in terms of establishing, manufacturing and selling products. Which are the government agencies? What are the other associations? That is what will further divide these companies. Not going into the details, let us go back to understanding the market for a few minutes. Then I will go into quality and manufacturing sector, right? If some of your friends, maybe relatives, ask you, what is the value, worth of biotechnology industry? Number, you have to answer with a number. Right? What is the total valuation of biotechnology sector, especially from industry? The answer is there in this slide. We have now crossed $55 billion. I'm talking only about the Indian biotechnology industry. And by 2025, we are expected to reach around $75 billion worth. Right? Now, why I am specifically stressing on this point? I have met at least few thousand students in the last 22 years since I started interacting with students from 1999. So this is 23rd year. Many students always have this common question. I apply for a job, I don't get a response. Why I am not getting a job? So on and so forth, all those questions. And when we interact with these students in colleges and university campuses, they say, we have several people surrounding us who always tell us life sciences, biotechnology is not a good area. You will not get opportunities. There is no future, blah, blah, blah. Right? They don't know. But what is more disappointing is students who study that subject also don't know. And you cannot expect this to be covered in any of your subject. You have to work, go understand. There are different methods by which you can do. Maybe I can separately answer this as a question, or in the discussion I will take up this. Remember, there are companies. How many? In India, we have more than 600 companies working in life sciences. Out of that, more than 150 companies are big. What do you call as big pharma, biotech, life science companies? And more than 50 companies are multinational companies, which have their branches in India. And then more than that remaining half of them, which are MSMEs, small and medium scale, and startup companies. All of them have government funding, public funding, private funding. Many of them are already listed in the stock market. Many of them already have raised and released IPOs. You should know, therefore, what products they are making, what is the skill and department where I can actually search and match, right? So you can see there, lot of challenges at the same time opportunities we have. One of the biggest advantages in India is having huge manpower, right? Workhorse, huge human resource. So we call it as scientific manpower. The only problem is not all this manpower has been utilized for either drug discovery, development, or clinical trials. Maybe you might have read or studied in some of your subjects. There was a time where India was known as clinical trial heaven. All the developer countries used to come to India to conduct clinical trials. Then in between, the Indian regulations were not properly framed. There were a lot of loopholes. Companies did not follow ethical as well as quality and safety guidelines. Several mishaps, accidents, or issues surfaced. Then many big companies said, okay, let me go to Singapore, Malaysia, or go to Brazil, but not India. Last 15 years, from 2005 onwards, I can say, we again rejuvenated. Now our clinical trial rules in terms of regulatory requirements have been streamlined. Excellent system by ICMR, DBT, DST, and DGCI. I will again tell a little more about that later. So, wide genetic pool is available in India. All of us have studied genetics now. We understand what is genetic pool. To conduct a clinical trial, what you need? Can you conduct a clinical trial for a drug in Bangalore and then sell that all over India or all over the world? You can, right? In Bangalore, I will recruit 1 lakh patients and conduct clinical trials for 5 years. Is it fine? That I can sell that drug into Japan or America or Europe? So what is expected? You need local, national and global regulatory clinical trials. Means you have to do it in different regions with different ethnic backgrounds, different races, different age groups, including both male, female and other communities, then your clinical trial are valuable. How much diversity we have in India, we all know, right? So people now are back to take advantage of this wide genetic pool that is available, right? Then we have the economy, purchasing capacity, medical insurance, healthcare investment, health expenses, capacity has gone up. I till now remember some company, I don't want to name, they asked us, do you want to take medical health insurance? We used to laugh. Nothing will happen to me. In this age, why should I even take a medical insurance? Maybe 1 or 2 LIC policies I will take, that is for some other purpose, but health insurance, which we call as Mediclaim, right? Now it is a big deal in India for the last 10 years or so. How many companies are there and how this whole industry has evolved? If you see, you will understand how pharma and biotechnology have contributed for not only solving the issues in terms of healthcare by giving access to medicines. You want to now utilize all those technologies and solutions available. And first big such step is having an insurance. So we have private players, we have government interventions, and a lot of projects have actually happened. The next, India is also called as diabetic capital of India, of the world. Obesity, earlier people thought is there more mainly in developed countries like US and Europe. India is now known as one of the most obese people containing region. Huge population are diabetic or pre-diabetic. You know, almost at the verge. If you go back and check the values, you know what is the common parameter that we do to check whether someone is diabetic or not? How do you know someone is a diabetic or not? I should not ask questions, right? Is there any specific blood test other than testing the blood sugar level, which will indicate the level or the extent you are diabetic or pre-diabetic? This is not biotechnology, sir. Please don't ask. Please go back and check, okay? What is the test which is recommended, which will tell you, I can give you a hint. That test will tell you last 3 months, what happened to your sugar level. Not today or yesterday. Today I went for a marriage party, then I go and give my blood sample, maybe my blood sugar level is pretty high. That's not the accurate value, right? So please see what are those new diagnostic systems to detect. Anyway, right? So you have lifestyle diseases, cardiovascular, as well as many, including diabetes and cancer. They say there are more people working on diabetes and cancer than the actual patients. That much of research, investment, companies, universities, industries are working. But still we don't have a solution in terms of getting through all these systems. You know, Biocon was working on a unique project for the last 10 plus years. Oral insulin. You know, insulin, all of us know, we discussed, right? How we take insulin? What do you call that system? Injection. IV, right? Okay, fine. They are called injectables, right? They are also called, in another technical way, parenteral drugs. Okay, so you have to inject it. How about having a insulin orally, which you can take like a tablet or a syrup or capsule, something like that. Is it good? Do you think will it make life easy? Every day people inject insulin. Have you seen diabetic patients who are not on the chemical, other what do you call it? Small molecule based anti-diabetic drugs are also there, which many people take and manage. But those who are on insulin, you don't know how much they have to suffer. So every day take, and not to forget it, adjust the dose, especially if they want to eat something which is high carbohydrate, they have to adjust the dose. Imagine having a oral insulin. Biocon tried. Throughout the world, many companies tried, but it's not easy. As a biology, life science students, you should tell me why it is not easy. What is insulin? Biochemistry. What type of hormone? It's a peptide hormone, right? It has alpha and beta chains and a lot of post-translational modifications to finally get you that functional pre-pro-insulin to pro-insulin to insulin. They do either in the system or outside. Basically, that's what is the molecule. Now that when it goes into our digestive system, if you take orally, what will happen? What happens every day when we consume protein in our food? Lot of things happen here itself, then lot of things happen here, right? The same will happen to insulin. So by the time it reaches the target cell tissue in our body, what you call as into the circulation, you don't have insulin. It's already broken down further because it itself is a small dipeptide. That's all. It's not even a complex protein. So it's very difficult. These are the challenges which people are working in biotech companies. We are not yet successful doing it. Synthesis is not challenge. How do you deliver it? What happens when you take that or when it is given to the patient? That also is part of biotechnology. Anyway, so a lot of companies are there in India which are working on several such interesting research as well as translational project works in biotechnology, and they cannot neglect India. Companies from US, Europe, Japan, China, Middle East, Southeast Asia, everyone want to come and do something in India. Why? Number one, we have people who are talented. Number two, we have people to test and do it. Number three, we have patients. Number four, now we have government regulations and systems which are better than what earlier they used. So no one want to lose the battle or the business. Which company developed Covishield vaccine? Loud, please scream. I think I can reduce this for any chance. Can anyone reduce this fan speed because I can't hear? No, I think some of you can do that. Just reduce the fan speed. I can't hear anything. Yes, you are telling something. Thank you. Covishield, all of us, many of us have taken, right? Where was it developed? Who developed it? AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca was the company. Where? Pune. We know Serum Institute, right? Which is in Pune. Serum Institute did the manufacturing in a large scale. It was developed by AstraZeneca with the help of Oxford University. Together. Oxford University had the technology. AstraZeneca did the scale up and commercialization technology platform it brought, but AstraZeneca was not having the capability to do large scale manufacturing of not even millions, billions of doses within the short span when we had the pandemic. To supply to the whole world, not just talking about India. So what they did, what did AstraZeneca do? They went and knocked the door of world's largest vaccine manufacturing company called as Serum Institute of India. You know what is the claim Serum Institute makes for the last several years? out of every 5 people in the world, each one person has taken one or the other vaccine by Serum Institute of India in the world. In terms of volume, they are the largest or biggest. Okay, so they have already all the manufacturing capabilities. Today, that's what we are here to understand. What do you mean by that manufacturing and quality? Okay, so why AstraZeneca had to do that? Technology is mine, right? Suppose I am from AstraZeneca. I can make and sell it in India and make more money. Why should I go and ask Serum Institute? If I have to set up that in India, it will take 6 to 8 years. By the time COVID will already be gone, and maybe we were also gone, right? So they did that. Who developed Covaxin? Bharat Biotech, not alone. ICMR, National Institute of Virology, together did this technology. Bharat Biotech was asked to manufacture it. Along with them, the technology became successful. So you all should know, therefore, what happens in the background. What is the role of WHO in all these processes? These are all the question marks I am just asking you at the beginning. Okay. Let us now understand another scenario. This itself may take 1 hour lecture. If I want to go to the details, I separately can do this. If some of you are interested, I will share more information. This is why biotech companies in the last 20 years are growing faster throughout the world. Why we are also studying and want to pursue more and more career prospects in biotechnology. One of the major reason is patents, intellectual property system. Biotechnology is one such area. Like I have recently published an article for our newsletter. Maybe I will send that to later on your faculty. They can circulate with you. I was talking about the same thing in India. What is happening in biotechnology because of this IP. Okay. Earlier, people thought biotechnology is done by some Oxford or Stanford University professor sitting in US, Europe, or maybe it's not our cup of tea. We are not going to do anything. Okay. But because of this, what you call as patent system, every country got equity, equal rights and opportunity in terms of companies, universities, any inventor, basically a scientist, a junior or a senior or a professor now can file for a patent if you have a invention or a innovation. If you see specifically biotech industry sector, there are two things that actually evolved in the last 20 to 30 years. First was generic drugs. I'm not going to the details. India is known as generic capital of the world. We supply huge amount of generic drugs to the whole world, especially US and Europe. And there is specific reason for that. One main reason is patents. That is, whenever a drug is developed by a company, for example, can you name a big multinational company? Not Indian, maybe European, US. A pharma biotech company? Abbott. Okay, say Abbott produces a drug. And Abbott drug is available in US, Europe for say $10,000 or say 8,000 euros. When they want to sell it in India, do we have buying capacity, purchasing power? No. There are many cancer drugs which are like $30,000, $50,000, which we are not able to afford. Can we ask those companies to give free? Why? You know how much money these companies invest to bring out one drug into the market? It was around $2 to $3 billion. Now it has come because of technology to around $1.5 billion. $1 billion is how many rupees? 7,500 crores as of today for one drug. And you know what is the guarantee? They start from 100 molecules, come to 20, 30, finally end up with 5. 3 or 4 of them will fail during clinical trials, or regulators will reject, or something will happen in some patient, project is blocked, stopped. Finally, one drug Sometimes even luck has to support these people, other than science. That one drug will be called approved successful. Then it gets a tag. If it is successful in the market, when people buy it, use it, and then get cured. That is called like blockbuster. Like in movies we use, right? Not all movies are blockbusters, the same way. So now, after investing, say 7,500 crores, do you expect a company to give it freely? Okay. Now what should we do? Countries like India and Africa, I can't buy. What is the solution? Should we be losing that opportunity to get treated for that cancer if it is a cancer drug? Or should we have some mechanism to have that drug? That's what the Indian and developing countries' intellectual property patent systems addressed. A patent is expired, it is available free for people to use. That is one route. The other route, they can license it to Indian companies at lesser or subsidized cost. Third, they can have a contract manufacturing franchisee kind of a company in India, which already has the setup. Now, what is the advantage? Excuse me. I'll give you an example. There is a subsidiary of Biocon called as Syngene. Hope some of you have heard. Any idea what does Syngene do? What company it is? It's a CRAM, Contract Research and Manufacturing. Means about suppose company or Novartis or say Thermo or say Johnson & Johnson or say Amgen or Genentech. These are Baxter. These companies now want to do something in India. They have two options, right? They can establish a branch in India or they can collaborate with an existing Indian company. Syngene is one such arm of Biocon where we collaborated with such big companies which just now I listed. Now what we do in Syngene? We do contract research and development in terms of drug discovery, preclinical, clinical. In terms of chemical drugs, we do DMPK, drug metabolism, pharmacokinetics and pharmacogenomics. We do what you call as preclinical and clinical evaluation, toxicity studies, animal studies, human clinical trials. For doing all this, what you need? You need the drug molecule, right? That foreign US, Europe company, they are not manufacturing that much molecule, that much drug to do clinical trials and testing. Who has to do? We are doing in Syngene. We are not selling it directly to the patients. We are using that for conducting clinical trials. Later on, imagine it is successful. Now that big company will say, okay, anyway, you have everything, right? Why can't you continue to manufacture for commercial scale and supply to the Indian market? That's where we become contract manufacturing, not only research and development. So that's how now every Indian company is getting some advantage. You have to see in Hyderabad, 2 or 3 companies got the license from the Russian vaccine called Sputnik. Why? Why Russia could not do it on their own? Same reason. They saw that everything is ready here. People are there, facilities are there, cheap, cost effective, and they will take care of the marketing and business development and sales. That's the advantage you see. And patents have given rise to generics as one category. The other category is biosimilars. That is, biotech drugs after patents are expired, Indian and many such developing countries have come out with biosimilars, which are similar to the original drugs. I was mentioning, right? Some drug, say if it is $30,000, a company like Biocon, if it is making for $1,000 in India after the patent is expired, is it beneficial for the community or not? That's the point they are trying to make. Okay, when the patent expires, all other companies across the world can implement because of the IP clearance they get in terms of expiry. Moving on, India is known as a big pharma exporter. What do we export? Maybe I will hold the mic and come down and ask you. Hello, hello, hello. I know this font size is very small. Please bear with me. Have you heard any of these terms? Some of them definitely we discussed already. What do you mean by API? Active pharmaceutical ingredient. It is sometimes in types of industry also called as bulk drug. What do you mean by that? Let me give first maybe a common example before going to biotech example. If we get fever, what medicine we take? Don't say Dolo 650. Paracetamol. Okay. How much? 650 or 500, something, right? So 650, 500, what is this? mg, right? So what is the weight of the tablet? Again, wrong question, right? Silly question. Have you any time thought? Approximately tell me. Is it less than 650 or more than 650 mg? Okay, 5 to 6. I'm not sure. Few grams, more than a gram. Why? That means they're adding something impurities in that. It should be 650 mg, right? That's what written on label, right? 650 milligrams of paracetamol present in that is called the active pharmaceutical ingredient, which we call as drug substance, also called DS. That is, whatever, whether it's a capsule or tablet or any form in a given unit, what is that actual ingredient which is going to have a therapeutic effect? What is a therapeutic effect? In fever, what do you expect after you take paracetamol? Right? So, what is that compound, chemical or biochemical or biologic, which actually is responsible for that biological activity? That is called active pharmaceutical ingredient. Are we able to understand this? You share matter? ಇದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿ ಮಾಡಿ ತಡಿ. ಹೇಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತಾ? Can I continue? Sorry for the break. Maybe we'll take a few minutes break if you all want some rest. Okay? Because I don't want you to shut down, physically present, mentally absent type of system. So can we take a break of few minutes? 5 minutes. Definitely not more than that. In this, maybe I will ask one question. Okay. Is the session boring? You are like getting sleep? Tell me so that I can speed up as maybe slow down. Is it okay? Can we start? Yeah, I will increase the speed now. Maybe we'll go into details. Thank you. Okay, so this is now in terms of designations and job roles. After you do your MSc, MTech, or some of you BSc, BE, BTech, what department, what designation, which is suitable to you, where all you can actually apply. I cannot make a list. Actually, there are more than 40, 50 such terms. What is the most common, which all of us know? I generally believe in sharing you the facts, not just showing something in the air. Okay. So, can I have your attention, please? Please talk to me, not with your friends. If you see 100 people, if they are hired by a pharma biotech industries, in that more than 40 to 50 of them end up joining quality departments. When I say quality departments, it includes at least 3: quality control, quality assurance, quality control, microbiology. Put together, we call as quality. More than 45 to 50% of the hiring, recruitment happens in that. The next big thing is manufacturing, which we also call as production, which has major 2 divisions, but there are many subdivisions. That is upstream, downstream. People who are good in cell culture, fermentation, bioreactor operation, media preparation, optimization, all that comes under upstream. Filtration, sedimentation, chromatography, lot of other unit operations which come under downstream. Purification. And there is another department associated with that, post downstream, that is called as filling and finishing and packaging and finally making the product ready. All that together we call as manufacturing. Second biggest. Third biggest, R&D, research and development, where we use that term scientist, research assistant, research associate, like that. We have mainly 4 to 5 different departments or subjects which I want you all to focus if you are interested in R&D. Number 1, any guess? It's there in this slide. Molecular biology. The strong foundation pillar for research in biotech companies starts with mainly molecular biology. Why? What is the main aim of biotechnology? To generate products and processes for human welfare. It may be enzyme, a medicine, or a nutrition, or environment clearance material, something. For doing any such manipulation, the first thing you need to know is what? DNA, RNA, protein. To work on this DNA, RNA, protein, people expect you to know strong molecular biology as well as molecular biotechnology. That is how to manipulate the genes, how to work with RNA and protein systems. So in industry, if you want to think of even a scientist R&D jobs, your molecular biology skill should be very strong, which comes from fundamentals of biochemistry and microbiology as well. Because if you don't know the pathways, if you don't know more about biomolecules and their metabolism, and if you are not having in-depth knowledge about the central dogma, you will not be fitting into R&D. First pillar. The second, bioprocess, also called as industrial biotechnology, industrial microbiology, things like that, where they expect you to know what are individual unit operations to scale up your lab, test tube, beaker work into large scale. For that, you need what subject background? You need fermentation as the basis, microbiology as the basis, immunology as the basis, because the molecules which you want to make or produce, the cell, prokaryotic, eukaryotic systems that we use, they all basically are manipulated either genetically or recombinant way in a large scale containers, right? Fermenters or bioreactors. So you need to be good in process engineering. You need to be good in heat transfer, mass transfer, thermodynamics. You need to be good in kinetics. You need to be good in calculations. You need to be good in statistics. Then bioprocess engineering is an area. The third biggest area is cell culture. You should know plant cell culture, animal cell culture, or even fungal, algal, bacterial, whatever. When I said prokaryotic system, we don't use the word cell. For mammalian, we use the word cell culture. But basically, you should be good in microscopy, cell counting, cell growth, preparing, quantifying, qualification of several industrial processes depends first on cell culture, because that's where you are expressing your foreign gene. That's where you are expecting the protein to go. It's not like you by heart few media, you by heart few organism names. You should be able to know how media optimization happens. You should know how enumeration happens. How do you count the cells? How do you know the viability of the cells? How many dead and living? And when you do growth kinetics, after several hours, 6, 12, 18, 24, or after 3 days, 5 days, what is the cell count? What is the biomass? That is the background people expect from cell culture, from microbiology or from animal or other industrial cell line point of view. I'll just ask one question related to this. If I say again 100 biotech products made in the world, 100 products. What do you mean by biotech products? I'm talking about recombinant proteins, vaccines, therapeutic protein, etc. Imagine 100. In that, one cell line is used to produce more than 60 of that 100 products. Which is that? I will twist the question in another way. Which is the most common production platform for biotechnology based drugs? Anyone? Just give it a try. I am asking name of the cell. Is it Escherichia coli? No. Is it yeast? No. Is it the Pichia pastoris which I said? No. It's a mammalian cell line. Any idea? You have studied animal cell culture, many of you? Do you think animal cell lines are used for anti-cancer drugs, testing and doing cell bioassays, etc.? I am talking about growing mammalian cells in a bioreactor and production of specific products like monoclonal antibodies from those cell lines. Example, please note down CHO, that's all. It's called CHO, Chinese hamster ovary cells. In Biocon Academy, we have one subject where we study about CHO cell lines, full one subject. That can tell you, out of 100 biotech products made in the world, more than 60 are made in CHO cell based expression systems, or genetically modified CHO cell lines are used in bioreactors to produce all those different biotechnology based products. Earlier people started with E. coli and yeast, but not today. If you are still active and thinking, or maybe after eating the biscuit, if you are active, you should ask immediately the next question, why? I know none of you want to ask any questions, right? Why, sir? Just like that, someone told to do, say, therefore are they using, or is there any advantage? I can't deviate, but if you ask, I will answer later. Okay. Moving on, if you want to understand now the industry functions, again I will start with a question. If you visit a biotech or a pharma industry, what are the various departments? I have already given partial answer to this. Now you should be able to tell me. Anyone? R&D, QC, QA, manufacturing, production or sale, packaging. Little loud, please. Marketing, packaging is part of manufacturing. That's all. Storage. Okay. There is a warehouse. Okay. Where they do that. Then, okay. Imagine, let us imagine, right? At least good to imagine. Imagine some of you start a biotech company. You get a $1 million grant, support fund, or someone is giving you. Okay. And you have to recruit people, hire people. You will hire only these 5-6 names, departments, which you said, and will you be able to start a company? I will give you R&D, quality assurance, quality control, manufacturing, and warehouse. One more, what was that? Packaging. Will you be able to start a company? What else you need? Security. Wow. Yes. Think about that. Okay. There is a separate department which takes care of this recruitment called as HR. There is a separate department which takes care of money, finance. There is a separate department which takes care of government, Indian, international approvals and regulations. That is called regulatory affairs. There is a separate department called microbiology, which will take care of water, air, sterile, aseptic environment, clean maintenance, so that your product is safe. Microbiology. There is a separate department which will take care of supply chain. That is, you get raw materials, you have API or finished products, you have to supply that to some other company or other country, you have to package and store in different systems, environments. So you have a big marketing and business development and sales team. You have a separate team to do clinical trials and research. You have a separate team which has to do project management. Sometimes they use the word program management, but PM, project management. There is a separate IP team, intellectual property or patents related team. Why? You want to release a product, the product name will be having a trademark. We call TM, but you know, R, capital and circle. My product will have a registered trademark so that no one else should copy. Then my technology, fermentation, cell culture, analysis, estimation, whatever I have developed in my industry, I have to patent. Many of them if they are new. So I need an IP department, which will take care of filing patents for my company. Or fighting with other companies if they file a case against me, that any of the thing that I have copied, that's called infringement. So you have all these different departments, not just one. What we are trying to do today, just try to understand one such main department called as quality, which has further 2-3 such divisions. And I told you, if possible, we'll touch upon manufacturing to some extent. So what do you mean by quality? One more question. I want to eat biscuit, and someone say eat a biscuit where the advertisement has a music called as ting ting ting. That's all right. I don't need any advertisements. Why? It's a brand. We believe in the brand, right? Why we believe in brand? Quality. How do you know quality is there or not? When you go to a shoe shop, right? If the shoe has a tick mark, immediately we buy it without asking him whether this will be good, whether this will be durable. That is quality. So where is quality? Quality is in the mind. But how do you demonstrate it? It has to be consistent always. That is, today you buy here or someone buy in Delhi or maybe in Kolkata, the same product, same quality all the time. Now imagine, same paracetamol example, let us take. Easy, right? I take 500 mg paracetamol, fever is coming down. My friend takes paracetamol from other company, fever is not coming down. Possible? Yes. If 500 mg paracetamol is not pure, not actually containing 500 mg, has lot of impurities, something else is there, then what is the guarantee? How do you understand that? That is where quality is born. So what is quality? It's a measure of excellence, or it's a measure of having defect-free products. I will tell you a small example here so that you all understand quality. You know, Japanese people are known for high quality throughout the world. We should admire when something is there, okay? Americans always used to believe that we are better than Japanese. Once there was a Japanese manufacturing company, some item, okay? Don't worry about the details. American company, government, someone gave a project, or what you call as an order, to Japanese company. We want 10,000 pieces of that material in next 6 months, 1 year. Order, they actually gave an order. This Japanese company said yes. Okay, this is the cost, this is the methodology, we will give you 10,000 after 3 months. They, in that order, they mentioned, we want 5 defected pieces out of this 10,000 only. That's what this American company wrote. Out of 10,000, not more than 5 should be defective. Now, Japanese people thought this is a good chance for us to teach a lesson to these American guys who are overconfident. They made the 10,000 materials and then packed 5 separate materials with a letter and sent that to the US. What did they write in that? We are really sorry, we are confused. In spite of all the trials, we could not manufacture 5 defective products out of 10,000. So we have separately manufactured 5 defective products. We are sending separately so that you can actually confirm and do the payment. You know what does this mean? There was a time when there was a company called as General Motors, GM, which dominated the US. Then came Toyota, the Japanese company. Okay, today we know Suzuki, Toyota, things like that. They revolutionized what is called as quality. In MBA, we study their case studies. I had a chance to do an MBA course in between because I don't know what to do, so I did that. That was the time we studied Toyota example as a case study. They have developed high quality standards that 1 lakh car, if you are manufacturing, you should not have even one defect in any of that. That is the level of expectancy. The same is true with pharma and biotech. Imagine we taking a medicine for an infection, say for typhoid, okay, an antibiotic. What happens if the typhoid curing antibiotic is defective? First problem, I may not be getting cure for typhoid, right? I am trusting, taking it, but typhoid is not at all going away. Second biggest problem, what if instead of that antibiotic, some other contamination impurity is there? What will happen? Forget from typhoid, people will die because of that medicine. That's what is called like accidental death. Maybe in many cases it has happened. I will show you an example also if you want. So imagine, instead of curing, what if medicine is going to affect the patient, right? And I am not talking about some rocket science, which maybe like it is not our problem. You cannot say that. Why? All of us are every day taking the medicines, right? Our family, our friends. Do you have anyone who is not taking medicine? And imagine all these medicines have to be all the time containing the same chemical, same concentration. There was a case, many of us know, right? Asthma inhalers, right? That's which we use called Asthalin type of spray. There was a company which used to make that. Okay, so there is a ready-made product which you take, open it and spray, right? Their cartridge was containing all other compounds, but API was missing. Now you know what is API, active pharmaceutical ingredient. It has something which you can see, like a liquid or something. They put it in the inhaler, sprayed, that asthma patients died. When they checked, the API is missing in that. So during packaging and filling, they did not have quality assurance system in place to ensure that if I am making 10,000 such cartridges, all 10,000 should contain that API. Are you imagining? For example, in Biocon, every day we are making few thousand vials of insulin and supplying it to 100 countries for the last 30 years. Not even one vial can have less insulin, more insulin, or something else other than the insulin. No contamination. What if there is a bacteria? After storing for maybe 1 week, 10 days, or 1 month, bacteria multiplies. If there is some liquid or nutrition, right? Then what when I inject insulin, instead of insulin, I am getting a new disease because of that bacteria. Can you imagine now? So that is what I'm trying to mention here, right? So quality is a measure of being free from defects or deficiencies or significant changes, variations, right? It's a big topic. Within that, if you want to easily understand, I'm splitting that into QA and QC. Quality assurance. So what is quality assurance? It's a policing job, but good police, not bad police. So what is a simple way of understanding QA? Quality assurance people check and ensure that quality is maintained. That's all. They don't test. Who will test? QC. Quality control people will test the sample, the intermediates, the raw materials, the final product before release. Every stage, everything they test. That is quality control. Quality assurance, they will monitor, verify, check, and approve. They always are associated with QC people and manufacturing people. They will see whether manufacturing team is doing all the procedures correctly, whether they are using the right kind of media, containers, all the ingredients, all the cells cultures, all the water or air or any such other chromatography column is used, for example. Manufacturing teams may be doing the procedure and protocols, but someone has to verify and check. That is done by quality assurance. So what they do, they collectively influence the quality of the product. For this quality to be present, to be measured, to be implemented, industries have brought out another terminology called as GMP. Good manufacturing practices. It is not just associated with manufacturing. The name actually says manufacturing, but it includes everything. I can't again cover this because we take few lecture series on this one topic called GMP. So today it's impossible for me to cover, but remember all the total activities put together that is carried out to make a high quality product continuously, repeatedly, every time in the right way. That is GMP. So who is involved in GMP? Quality teams, manufacturing teams, and all other support departments. Everyone put together implement what is called as GMP. How do you understand now quality in an industry? I told you about Nike, right? Shoes, or about Britannia biscuit, etc. Right? How they established quality in the market, in the people? By not compromising on quality, by making them aware that my product is good, therefore you have to pay this much, right? So that in the industry, first they have to establish what is called as quality culture. Not bacterial culture, fungal culture, cell culture. So what do you mean by that? I think the size may not allow everyone to read this. Every time, I told you, right? Every time, same quality product. I'll give in another way example. For example, say one of our friend here is working from morning 8 to 2. in QC. Duty time is over. The other person comes at 2 o'clock and works till 10 o'clock in the night. Duty is over. Then the third person goes, works from 10 p.m. to morning 6 a.m. So 3 people are doing the same activity. That is one. After few months, one of them, 2 of them will leave. Someone else is recruited. Right? That's someone else. Do you think they will put their own brains and do something new? No. They have to do the same. So what I'm trying to tell here, whether it is 1 person, 10 people, 100 people, new people, old people, they have to follow the processes, standard operating procedures, specifications, standards, which are set up in industry that will establish quality. Okay, and they have to spend a lot of money, they do a lot of training, they do a lot of audits, checks and balances to actually establish quality, right? So in all the activities that they do, starting from material purchase to conducting a simple pH measurement to purifying a monoclonal antibody or packaging, quality is involved. Testing is involved. Every test has to have a document, a report. Not today. If I come after 3 years also, they can tell what is happening. That is the level of quality pharma biotech industries actually expect. I cannot tell you more simpler than that it is shown in that simple diagram that companies struggle to establish quality because initially it is slippery. You have to have many people, you have to have many systems and standards, you have to invest a lot of money and resources, and then when you establish, you will achieve what is called as high quality and compliance. What do you mean by compliance? Someone, if they follow a norm of a country or a regulator or an agency continuously, anytime you go and check, they follow that same process. That means they are compliant. Compliant means they have established compliance. One example is high quality. If you have established, you know now that your products are safe, that you can directly inject it without any fear, right? So how do you establish quality product? What are the responsibilities? Who is responsible? Okay, every individual in a company, pharma biotech, is part of the quality system. They undergo GMP training, they undergo several other stages of training relevant to QA and QC, depending on which department they are. And you can see there it is a top-down approach. That is, the company owners, managements, they establish quality standards and systems, which is going to the level of final, what you call as the lowest level of employee. I'll give a typical example. When inspections happen from agencies, you know what do you mean by agency? I have to ask one more question then. Who will approve the drugs for these industries in India? If you want to manufacture a drug, someone has to give permission, right? That you can make and sell this drug. Who is doing that? CDSCO. CDSCO. Not right to say that. Please later on go back and check what is CDSCO. If you are making a food product, who is going to approve? Fssci. If you want to sell a product in United States, FDA, US FDA. If you want to sell a product in Europe, EMA, European Medicines Agency. If you want to sell in Australia, PGA. If you want to sell in Brazil, Anvisa. If you want to sell in Canada, Health Canada. Like that, there are agencies for drugs, pharmaceuticals, things like that. Now, when they come to your industry, it cannot be like an inspection, right? Today they are coming, let me be ready, let me neatly, cleanly keep all the instruments, all the corridors clean, all cultures and my containers are clean. No. Anytime, any day, anyone comes and checks, it has to be safe. That's what you're expecting in industry. You cannot prepare for them to arrive and do on that day. You know, there was even a Small joke related to that. When these agencies come to industry, in one of the industry in India, they saw there was a board, restroom, only for auditors and inspectors. A restroom they had written. They asked why. Sir, the other restrooms are dirty. Immediately they gave a warning letter and all those things. You know why? Employees working in that company, if they are using dirty restrooms and then going back and doing manufacturing and packaging, imagine what will happen to the drugs. We are talking about saving lives, right? So that's what is called quality responsibility. In industries, they established something called as quality policy, where they establish the quality culture modules and then take all the employees through that. But for that to happen, I just need a minute. I need to connect my battery. Maybe mic will not work. Not possible. The mic remove it. Slowly. Thank you. Okay, maybe you are able to hear me. Thank you. Sorry for that interruption again. So if you want to establish a quality product, okay, every company has to have something called as acceptable standards, which are regulated by, set up by government and other agencies. And individually, each industry will have their own quality standards that they set up. To actually meet those quality standards, you will have GMP, which is continuously upgraded. And that is where there is a concept called CGMP, current good manufacturing practices. You cannot be using a 20 years old technology to make a drug for tomorrow. So companies also have to reinvent and update. That is where we use the word CGMP. Suppose US FDA comes and inspects a company. They will not tell you what to do. They will not ask you which textbook or which procedure you used. They will directly ask you to show product quality reports. Whether your product contains the same medicine or not, what purity, what are the impurities, what are the contaminants. Randomly, if I choose from 1 million bottles, any one, whether it is showing the same properties similar to all that 1 million, or it is showing something different from another batch or from another container. That's what they want. They don't even do lab testing. They'll come for 3 days or 5 days and check thousands and thousands of documents. Few printed documents, few digital documents. Suppose you have to do quality control testing. In Biocon, we have few hundred HPLC machines because there are 2,000-3,000 people working only in QC, where majority of the time they do chromatograms in HPLC. Now, how many chromatograms we will have? Millions, not even hundreds and thousands for different products. Every time we use to run the samples and generate that. Now, all that data we have to submit digitally to the US FDA before they come. Then only they will come, inspect your facility, go through everywhere, see whether raw materials are good, manufacturing methods are good, quality is tested at every stage, quality assurance has all the protocols, methods, training, documents. Manufacturing people are trained how to operate a fermenter, or downstream people are trained how to run a big chromatography column where 1,000-liter media is going through and filtration is happening. They test only documents. They will not ask you definitions or questions about define GMP, all that. That is where a company has to show that it is having quality, right? So there is something called CMC, chemistry, manufacturing, and control, which includes several quality control requirements, which together with GMP, they establish what you call as a quality product. Easy, sir, this is all confusing. Tell us easy, something which we can remember, right? So what are the functions of quality assurance? These are the 5 major functions. They have a lot of other activities, at least these you can try to understand. I have highlighted as well as italicized few terms here so that you can easily remember. So what they do first, suppose I am making 1 lakh vials or bottles of some drug. I need bottles, right? I am not manufacturing bottles. What will I manufacturing if I am a drug pharma company? The drug. But I need 1 lakh bottles to fill that, right? Who will give me bottles? There will be another manufacturers of bottle. I have to buy from them. Then that bottle will have a rubber cap and a metal seal or something like that. Will I manufacture that?
You know what type of air we will have inside? Do we have windows? Yes, no? Is it air conditioned? Yes, no? Air conditioned. These are the questions you should know now. If a pharma biotech company is manufacturing something, they do that in what you call as controlled and critical environments, in what is called as clean rooms. There are different grades of rooms used in pharma industry. For material storage, there is a different grade. For R&D, there is a different grade. For QC, there is a different grade. How do you know?
Generator, sir.
That's all.
No, no, it is some. Now you can use mine.
Wow. Okay, I think I will take another 10 minutes and stop. Okay, before 4, or maybe at 4. Then, if you have any questions, maybe we can spend few minutes. Otherwise, I can keep on doing this never-ending story. Right? So, please note down these which I was trying to share. What is the role of quality assurance? They have to train people, they have to develop procedures, they have to ensure testing is done properly, they have to see that every material that is used is going to a fixed testing and quality parameter. Right? Apart from that, in industry, they generate a lot of documents. When I say documents, it may be computer printout, it may be handwritten, or it may be instrument reading that is continuously shown or seen. Every document is verified by some manager, approved by some head of the department. Print form, digital form, any form. And then, whenever any auditor, inspector, or any incident happens, suppose in the market, one of my drug fails, suppose something happens to the patient. If you all have seen in the medicines, a lot of things other than the name and cost. Manufacturer name, company name, address, name of the tablet or medicine, expiry date, cost. I'm expecting one more. Side effects and risks, they might separately or extra, but not always on the bottle or container. Storage conditions. I want one more. Dosage they don't write, right? Otherwise, we will not go to doctor. Batch number. Have you seen? B.MOs, right? So in industry, we do manufacturing in batches. For every batch, depending on my capacity, I may be manufacturing 1,000 bottles or 10,000 bottles, depending on my bioreactor capacity, product purification capacity. All that 10,000 if I am making today should pass QC check, and then QA has to approve. Then only product is released into the market. I will maintain 5 or 10% few samples as a reference, that batch samples. Because tomorrow after I release the product in the market, there is a complaint. Something happens to someone. Then they will see which batch. They will come back to us. They will raise a complaint. We will investigate. Okay. In industry also they do investigations. And then quality teams identify whether there was a fault, whether there was a contamination, whether there was something missing in terms of safety, efficacy of the product, and then they correct it, solve it in such a way that they will not have product recall. I have to call back from the market every distributor wherever I have sent and sold, right? I have to ask them to give back. Why? Why I have to do that? Imagine if one patient dies. It's a question of company's reputation. If one incident, they do what is called as pharmacovigilance. Phase 4 clinical trials are nothing but market surveillance. After a product is released, still they continue to test the quality and safety and efficacy. Some idea? So what is QC? Quality control. They do the actual job of checking. I already told you what they check. When the product is sent out, they check even if a product is defective in the market when it comes back. At every stage, QC has to ensure they will test the sample, they will do the testing, and they will always clear that batch, that sample with all the specific requirements of quality. Imagine I am buying acetic acid, thousands of liters of acetic acid I buy for making some drug. Acetic acid manufacturer will be supplying, say, in drums, thousands of liters in drums. They will say 99.9% pure. I can't get it and use it directly. QC team first will test that sample. They will generate report. They will certify that this acetic acid is fit for usage. Then only the drum will go from warehouse to manufacturing area. Otherwise, it will go to another area called as quarantine. We all know now what is quarantine, right? So all the samples which are not passing the QC will be rejected and will be sent back to the original vendors, suppliers. That is where the role of QC is to ensure raw material, intermediates, packaging, and finished final products are always conforming to the established specifications or standards of quality. And how do you prove that? Please remember the three words in the last line: identity, strength, purity. What do you mean by that? Give me an example of an antibiotic. Streptomycin. If I am manufacturing streptomycin, every time I should have some method to test whether streptomycin is present or something else has come. So I have to test identity. So there are methods which QC develop. Strength. Suppose same diclofenac sodium painkiller I am taking 250 mg. It should contain every time in the same tablet 250 mg of diclofenac sodium. Right? Otherwise, the therapeutic effect which the doctor expects the patient to get is not if the medicine has less or more. That is what they decide the dosage as well as the periodicity depending on the drug that is available in the market. For example, if you have cold, people may take cetirizine. Cetirizine is not taken 500 mg, it is 4 mg, 5 mg, 8 mg. Because with that small quantity, cetirizine generates the same therapeutic effect, which maybe a paracetamol needs 500 mg to generate. That is what now QC has to see how to measure the strength of that particular product, which we call as a formulation. Why we call as formulation? They add several materials called as excipients, which are preservatives, which are enhancers, bulking agents, things like that. The last one, purity. There is a department in QC called microbiology. They will check for pyrogens, endotoxins, contamination, spores, any such bacterial, fungal, viral thing present in any medicine. They cannot. And whole pharma biotech industry has divided the products into sterile products and non-sterile products. Have you heard about these? What do you mean by sterile products? The one which are directly injected into the system. Injectables, they are sterile products. Non-sterile products, for example, our cough syrup. We take cough syrup, right, with a spoon or with that. Open it, take it, again keep it, nothing will happen. Is it sterilized? Do they do autoclaving of cough syrup before they sell it? No. So it's a non-sterile pharmaceutical finished formulation. That's how they have different QC standards to check for the purity. I think I have to stop here. I will see if there is anything you can now remember. The last slide which I want to show is manufacturing. Because of time, maybe we will not be able to finish this. But still, I will just take you through the slide, and later on maybe you can also check if you want. If you can reach out to me, I can share this information, or I will pass it on to the department faculty. So in general, all of us know, right, what you mean by manufacturing or production. We make the drug or the biotech product in industry in large scale. And I already told you, we have upstream, downstream. If you are appointed in a production department, what you are supposed to do? These are some of the activities, right? You have to take information from the research and development team, what we call as R&D. Why? Any biotech pharma company, the first successful activity that is developed is a standard manufacturing method. Who will develop that? R&D. Then what they do, it's called as tech transfer, technology transfer. Technology they are transferring to who? To the manufacturing department. So manufacturing employees, what they should know? They should know what is the specific manufacturing method that they have to scale up, given by the R&D. R&D team is working in, say, 5 liter, 10 liter bioreactor. For manufacturing, I am doing in 1000 liter bioreactor. So what I need to know? I need to extrapolate the data which they have given in terms of how much raw material I have to weigh, in terms of weight or volume, how much media I have to prepare, what should be the temperature, what should be the pH, what should be the conductivity. I need to know all the different utilities, valves, pipelines, which we call as P and ID, piping and instrumentation associated with the containers, fermenters and bioreactors. So what they do? They have a technology transfer document where all the procedure is listed and given by the R&D. They have to follow exactly. You cannot put your own mind in that. Okay, I am from IIT campus, I have my own thought process, let me do this. No. All that you can do in R&D. In manufacturing, you have to walk like, that ox or a bullock cart where they are tying it like that, right? You have to follow the same path. So you have to follow the SOP protocol process. 100%. No deviation. That is what manufacturing role is expected. So what they do? They have to clean, sterilize, and maintain all the containers, vessels, media, culture, ingredients, which we call as reactants or substrates, and we have to ensure that sterile environment is maintained. If it is a sterile product, we have to ensure that there are different pharmaceutical grade water that is used. Suppose I have 1000 liter. In that 1000 liter, how much cell culture I will add? If it is a yeast or a E. coli or mammalian, less than 3%. That is, for 1000 liter, it's like 30 liter, I will add what you call as inoculum. Then what will be 970 liters? Water. What water? What type of water? Municipal water? Kaveri water? Sterile water? Distilled water? You have to see. The topic is pharmaceutical grade water. You can see how many waters we use. There are different types of waters that are used. Especially the most important, which all of you should be aware of, is WFI, water for injection. You know, in many hospitals, you have seen, you and your relatives, there is a powder as a drug, then there is a water which they initially take in the syringe, inject into the powder, mix the suspension, and then inject into the patient. What is that water? It's not distilled water, it's not sterile, it's called as WFI. Water for injection. There is a pharmacopoeial guideline in terms of how do you prepare this water? How do you maintain those standards and specifications? That is the job of QC. They have to ensure that water is of that quality. Right? So this is how manufacturing people finally make the high quality product by following the processes of cleaning, sterilizing, fermenting, filtering, continuously maintaining for 1 week, 10 days. The product is being formed safely by following the same standard methods and parameters. Document everything and submit it to the quality department for approval before the product is actually released for the market. Let's stop with this slide. If you have any questions, feel free. You can ask me. I can spend some more time. Thank you. Maybe you clap because I stopped the lecture, or will you got something? I'm not sure.
Questions? Any questions from students?
Students, do you have any questions? No questions? Okay.
Whenever a company first time comes out with a drug, it is called as original innovator drug. That is first time someone is coming, right? They will not release the drug into the market. First, they will patent it. We know what is a patent, right? Exclusive rights for 20 years. But do you think a company will have 20 years? How many years they will finally enjoy that patent rights? 8 to 10 years. Why? When the day they say Eureka, I discovered the drug, right? From that day, they will file a patent. But preclinical, clinical, testing, approval, marketing, all that manufacturing will take 8 to 10 years. When the final drug is in the patient's hand, or in the hospital, or in the medical shop, already 60% or sometimes 70% of the time is completed, the patent life. So now I will release the product into the market. I will have 4, 6, 8 years available for me to sell. Whatever the cost I want, I can fix and sell. And people will buy it because my drug is good. If it is curing some disease, they will have to buy it. Either through government or through company sponsorship or on their own from the market. Now, I told you in between the discussion, not every country, not everyone can buy if the drug is costly. That is where India had an advantage in terms of generic drugs. Any drug after the expiry of the patent will be free in terms of technology available for anyone else to manufacture by their own method or by the same method and sell the drug in the market at cheap, easily affordable cost. So if some company is coming out with say a monoclonal antibody to cure a cancer, after the patent is expired, anyone else in the world can also make the same monoclonal antibody. They use the term biosimilars. In chemical drugs, we use the term generics. So a generic is nothing but after the patent is expired, you make a copy of the same drug having same BA and BE, biological availability and biological equivalence. So you have to prove that it also has the same therapeutic effect, so you can use it, but you only did reverse engineering, so it is available at cheap or lesser cost. Did I answer your question?
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful talk. Thank you for neatly putting to us the concepts of quality control in industries. I'm sure the students would be able to remember, apply when they go to their industries later. So now I would like to extend my thanks, and on behalf of the organizing committee, we'd like to thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time and presence. I would also like to extend my thanks to Narayanaka sir and Satish sir and Dr. Anuradha ma'am for their constant support and guidance. Thank you, dear students, for making this program a success. Hope you all were benefited with the talk, and have a good evening. Thank you. Towards the feedback forms in the group, please do fill them for the surveys. Okay, thank you.